Westbrook is a humble town positioned at the southern end of the frigid coastal state of Maine. The town has piqued the interest of paranormal skeptics for its recent string of bizarre and mysterious happenings. It seems like every handful of years, the supernatural fire that stokes the town's peculiar reputation is reignited. Internet sleuths and enthusiasts of the unexplained have joined together scouring the community's history in search of answers to the abnormal legends that seem to envelop the town. Perhaps after hearing some yourself, you can draw your own conclusions on the many mysteries surrounding Westbrook, Maine. We'll begin with maybe the most head-scratching case in the legend of the Presumpscot River Beast. In 2016, police turned to Facebook when they happened upon the shedded skin of a giant snake, estimated to be about 10 feet long. The discovery of the skin left authorities and locals both equally perplexed and fascinated. Under the assumption that it did in fact belong to a gigantic snake, residents of Westbrook would become enamored at the prospect of sighting the elusive creature. Things began to heat up when the police department followed up with a new post, alleging that 2 officers witnessed a snake as long as a truck, devouring a large mammal, assumed to be a beaver, near the river. In an attempt to simply make the residents aware of the creature's presence, the news sent the people of Westbrook into a frenzy. Natives scoured the small town in search of any sight of the seemingly mythical creature now dubbed Wessie, but to no avail. The snake was never found, but its legacy remained celebrated by the town in the form of a day-long festival, complete with its own theme song, commemorative shirts, and a namesake drink. So, was the legend of Wessie just a joke taken too far by the police department, or does the 10-foot serpent dwell among the town to this day? 3 years later came the ice disk phenomenon. In the midst of a harsh January winter in 2019, citizens of Westbrook noticed a roughly 300-foot-wide disk made of ice rotating in the Presumpscot River, the same birthplace as the legend of Wessie before it. Witnesses quickly likened the frozen spinning wheel to that of a crop circle, even going as far to call it an alien spaceship landing pad and not of this world. Residents also marveled at the large disk's ability to change in transparency and shape throughout the day. Though this phenomenon was later to be essentially debunked and explained more thoroughly by science rather than something entirely supernatural, it adds yet another tale to the town's ongoing ominous mystique. The following year, in September of 2020, Westbrook officials issued a state of emergency in response to a flash flood that resulted in a landslide, sending debris all throughout the town and nearby river. That river again being the Presumpscot. Geologists working to analyze the wreckage deemed that soft blue clay beneath the surface gave way to a large amount of soil and debris getting swept up into the river. Never shy about sharing the town's anomalies with the world, Westbrook locals shared first-hand photos of the water in the river, now sporting a bluish-gray tint, presumably from that clay. The latest and perhaps most baffling case, though, came just last month in September of 2021, when a nearly unscathed 19th century gravestone was found in the middle of a winding rural road with no indication as to how it got there. The Westbrook Police Department once again took to Facebook to share their findings, searching for any clues or answers the public might be willing to share. The post was shared hundreds of times, pointing internet detectives to findagrave.com. The site acts as a directory of sorts for cemetery records spanning all throughout the U.S. This eventually led investigators to Old Baptist Cemetery, the resting place of Mary and David Pratt as inscribed on the headstone. The strange thing is that Old Baptist was located in Yarmouth, a city roughly 15 miles from Westbrook. Not an extreme amount of distance in between, but odd to say the least. The cemetery assured police that there was in fact a Mary and David Pratt buried on the premises, but that they also had a perfectly intact headstone resting at their grave plot. After some additional collaboration between the Old Baptist Cemetery, the Yarmouth Historical Society, and an engraving specialist, it was determined that there was no nefarious activity involved with the original headstone's removal, meaning it wasn't an act of recent vandalism. It was eventually concluded that the misplaced headstone was likely removed and replaced sometime after Mary Pratt's husband, David, passed in 1861. So if that's to be the decisive finale of the Pratt headstone saga, how did this old one, estimated to be over 150 years old and in nearly flawless condition, end up in the middle of Methodist Road nearly 15 miles away from its site of origin? Police ultimately allowed the public to draw their own conclusions to the mystery, but that, of course, has only continued to fuel the skepticism among the residents of Westbrook. And so, we have a slippery giant snake that's continuously managed to evade the public eye, a massive rotating disk of ice, a force of nature that changed the color of miles of water, and a 100-year-old headstone seemingly falling out of the sky. With this long stream of anomalies in such a short amount of time, what lies in the coming days, months, or years for the town of Westbrook, Maine? Is it actually a hotbed for the paranormal and supernatural? Or is it simply locals cashing in on the town's peculiar happenings in hopes it becomes infamous? I'll let you go ahead and be the judge.